If you've ever stayed in a relationship that was hurting you, and you couldn't explain why you couldn't just leave, this video is for you. Everyone around you might have said, it should have been simple. Just walk away. Just say no. Just stop answering. But it wasn't simple, and there's a reason for that. And the reason has nothing to do with weakness. There is real neuroscience behind why toxic relationships are so hard to leave. Your brain isn't broken. It's not malfunctioning. It's doing exactly what it evolved to do. And that's precisely the problem. Today, I'm going to walk you through 5 scientific reasons your brain keeps you tied to people who hurt you. By the end, you'll understand yourself a little better. And understanding is the first step toward change. Welcome back to Dark Lens. This is one of the most requested topics since the channel started, and I want to handle it with the care it deserves. If any of this resonates with your own life, know that recognizing a pattern is not the same as being weak for having lived through it. The first reason is something called trauma bonding. When a relationship cycles between high highs and devastating lows, affection, then cruelty, warmth, then withdrawal, your nervous system doesn't process this as 2 separate things. It processes it as one continuous, high-intensity experience, and high-intensity experiences create the strongest emotional memories we form, stronger than calm, stable, predictable ones. This means a relationship full of chaos can feel more significant, more meaningful, more real than a calm one, purely because of how intensely your brain encoded it. This isn't a character flaw. It's how human memory and emotion have always worked. The mistake is assuming intensity equals love. Often, it just equals trauma. The second reason connects directly to something we covered in an earlier video: intermittent reinforcement. But the brain chemistry behind it deserves its own deeper look. Dopamine isn't simply a pleasure chemical. It's released most powerfully during anticipation of an uncertain reward, not when you receive a guaranteed one. In a toxic relationship, you never know which version of this person you'll get today: warm or cold, loving or cruel. That uncertainty itself triggers dopamine release every single time you interact with them. Your brain isn't rewarding you for staying in a good relationship. It's rewarding you for the uncertainty itself. The exact same mechanism that makes slot machines so addictive. This is why people often describe missing someone who was bad for them more intensely than someone who was simply, calmly good to them. The brain's reward system was never built to evaluate well-being. It was built to chase unpredictability. The third reason goes back further than the relationship itself, to attachment patterns formed in early life. If your early relationships with parents, caregivers, or other important figures involved any unpredictability, your nervous system learned a particular lesson. This is what love feels like, not because it was healthy, but because it was familiar. As adults, we are unconsciously drawn to relationships that feel emotionally recognizable, even when what's recognizable is pain. A calm, secure, predictable relationship can feel oddly unfamiliar, even uncomfortable, to a nervous system wired for chaos. This is one of the most important things to understand about yourself. Familiarity and safety are not the same thing. Your nervous system sometimes confuses the two. Learning to tell them apart is one of the most powerful things you can do for your future relationships. The fourth reason explains why leaving can feel physically painful, not just emotionally difficult. Neuroimaging studies on social rejection and separation have found that the brain regions activated during the loss of a significant relationship overlap substantially with the regions activated during physical pain. This is not a metaphor. Heartbreak activates real, measurable neurological pain responses. And when the relationship involved trauma bonding and intermittent reinforcement, as we've already discussed, the brain treats the loss similarly to substance withdrawal. Restlessness, intrusive thoughts, a physical pull back toward the source of the pain. If you've ever felt like leaving someone bad for you, felt like withdrawal from a drug, that's not an exaggeration. That's closer to literally true than most people realize. The fifth reason is the one that ties everything else together. Every toxic relationship contains moments of real warmth, real laughter, real tenderness, real glimpses of who this person could be. And those moments are not fake. They genuinely happened. Those glimpses create hope. And hope is one of the most powerful psychological forces a human being can experience. You don't stay because of the bad moments. You stay because of the good ones. And the belief, the hope, that those good moments are the real person, and the bad moments are an aberration that can be fixed. But here is the difficult truth. A pattern that repeats consistently over time is not an aberration. It is the relationship. Hope is not the enemy. Hope directed at the wrong outcome is. The most loving thing you can do for yourself is redirect that same hope, the same capacity for belief in something better, toward your own future, rather than towards someone else's potential. 5 scientific reasons: trauma bonding, dopamine and uncertainty, attachment patterns, the neurological reality of heartbreak, and hope misdirected towards someone who hasn't earned it. None of these reasons mean you are weak. None of them mean you did something wrong by staying as long as you did. They mean you are a human being with a brain that works exactly the way human brains are supposed to work. The problem was never your wiring. The problem was the relationship that exploited it. Understanding why you stayed is not about blame. It's about taking the power back. If this helped you understand something about your own life, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. And subscribe to Dark Lens, because next week we go further into this topic. I'll show you the 5 specific signs that someone is slowly isolating you from the people who could help you see clearly. Take care of yourself. I'll see you next time.